Water. We can't live without it. But in the world today, a lot of people can barely live with it. It's estimated that 1.8 billion people cook with, wash with, and drink contaminated water. 2.5 billion lack access to sanitation. In developing countries, people suffering from diseases caused by bad water, inadequate sanitation, and poor hygiene occupy half the hospital beds. Universal access to sanitation and clean water would save 2.5 million lives per year. Sounds expensive, right? But every dollar invested in water and sanitation returns on average more than $4 in increased productivity. Bottom line, we can't afford not to safeguard the world's water supply.
There we go, where Tulsa's finest business and community leaders gather every week to do great things here in Tulsa and around the world. Thank you, Tom, for the wonderful piano. Yes. I missed you all last week. I missed you all. I really did. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. So, first of all, I want to thank, Hannibal's not here today, but I want to thank him for running the program last week. I hear he did a great job, as would be expected. Ginger and I were in South Africa, and yeah, I know, it's rough. She was at a conference, and I was tagging along, and we actually, on Wednesday, got to attend a Rotary meeting at the Rotary Club of Sea Point in Cape Town, and which is one of the great, to me, benefits of being a Rotarian. You can go anywhere in the world and visit a Rotary Club, and all of a sudden, I've got 12 good friends in Cape Town, South Africa right now, and that wrapped their arms around me, and we had a great time, so I appreciate that. So let's take a minute and say hello to those around you. Okay, we've got a great program today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. This is a fun group. Sorry to break up the fun. We got business to attend to here. Bill Miller is going to lead us in our invocation, Jerry Dillon, song and pledge, and then Michael Turner will introduce our visitors today. Bill?
Would you pray with me? Dear God, we are thankful for this beautiful day. We are thankful for this place, for Rotary, and for this Rotary Club. We are thankful for those who here that are committed to making our community and our world a better place through service above self. We ask that you continue to guide and direct our club, its leaders, and our work. Bless our fellowship today and bless this food to our nourishment. Amen.
One of our all-time favorite pianists, Roger Hartman's in town, so I asked him to play for me now. Tom always does an incredible job, but there's nothing like Roger. If you notice, he brought his girlfriend with him today. This is one of the prettiest times of the year in America, so let's sing "Oh Beautiful" for Spacious Skies. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed its grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa on this beautiful November Day, 15th, 2017. We have a lot of guests today, which makes it even better. And because of all the great guests we have, I would like to just reiterate what President Mike, nice shave by the way, has said the entire first part of his presidency is Rotarians do amazing things, and when you're here, you do feel that energy from Rotarians, but what also occurs is many times not seen, and to me, those are the amazing blessings that I see others receive from Rotarians who take no credit for their work or their actions, and they just do it. And they do things to help others without anything in return. And these individuals who make up this amazing group that we call a Rotary Club are truly, truly blessings in many of our lives, including myself personally. So thank you for always mentioning that. We have a couple of guests of our speaker, his sister Lisa, and his dad, Jim, but they can stand up if they would like. They didn't want to be introduced at first. We had to talk them into it, but it's good to be here. And you guys can now sneak out if you need to. So, thank you. And so I will ask our host Rotarian and guests to stand up, and then if you'll please hold your applause to the end. With Kathy Gurrell, we have Tanya Blansett. Bob Wyerth with Jean Tariq. Kathy Gurrell has Sarah Fry. Sarah, welcome back. Good to have you here. Is she a member yet? Close. Awesome. George Shahadi has Curtis Williams. Rhonda Hayes, Whitney Collins is with her today. John McGrath has Walker Hanson. Casey Tarp has Brett Pfeiffer. Duff Wedge has Parker Morrison, who is a student. Where are you a student? Where from? Yeah. And President Jeff Hassel has, I think, like an eighth of his firm with him, Sam Clancy, James Sears, and Lauren Oldman. Good to have you here today. And Kip Lycum has Tony Lennox with him today. And our visiting Rotarians from Sand Springs, Brian Jackson. Brian. From Southside, Ben Gurrell. And this Rotarian will win the Mileage Award, and it'll be very close to your heart, given your last, wherever you said you went, but the tour of Africa. But from Nigeria, West Africa, Akin Akintilo is with us today. Good to have you here. Thank you. Please come back.
You are from an amazing place. I love Africa. I love Africa. Welcome, visitors. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you feel welcome and will consider joining us. If you do, you'll be working with some great people. You'll make some great friends and get to serve your community in some fantastic ways. You'll be happy. Wanda and Roger, so good to see you too. Thank you for being here today. Two of my favorite Rotarians. Okay, let's say thanks to our meeting sponsor today, who is Melissa Clark with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And then, as always, we encourage you to do business with your fellow Rotarians. And in addition to our sponsor today, let's also thank our meeting volunteers who will be showing up on the board here. And these people, again, work behind the scenes, week in, week out, to make this big production as successful as it is. So thank you, volunteers. Trish Kirkstra, you're going to introduce Mr. Taylor as our newest member. Why don't you make your way up here? And while they are, John DeBar, again, thank you for the awesome job you're doing in conducting our new member orientation. Trish?
Did you say that? No. It's No Shave November, have you noticed? Well, hello everybody. It is my pleasure to introduce my friend John Taylor is our newest member. I have a little bio to read, but I wanted to tell you how we met because I think it's really great. So 2.5 years ago, early 2015, I get a phone call. We were planning the first Wine and Jazz Festival at Post Oak. So we're getting the word out a little bit, and I get a phone call. Hello, I'm John Taylor. I understand you're having a wine and jazz festival. I'm like, yes, we are. How can I help you? He goes, you need to know me.
I actually sounded like that.
Yeah. So anyway, he came over, and we just had a great talk, and before the hour was done, we were just talking about all these collaborations, and I said, I think you'd be the perfect MC, and he's been our MC every year ever since, and also we've collaborated on some other projects. And he's just a terrific guy. And you know how you meet someone and you instantly know, gosh, this person would really be a great Rotarian, because all of our interactions, it's beneficial to both. It's fair. There's always goodwill that comes out of it. John is a Rotarian. And I'm so pleased to be able to introduce him today. So I'll share a little bit of his bio. He is a native Virginian, although he now calls Tulsa his home. And he's not just a fan of music, but really of the people who craft their music. And it's his passion for music, the craft, and the craft that goes along with it that created TulsaJazz.com. That's his thriving business, and which has also become a major resource in Tulsa. So if you yourself are like, I want to go out to dinner this weekend, but I want somewhere where there's live music, TulsaJazz.com, you'll see who's playing where you can go have dinner. It's just awesome.
Nice job.
Oh, thank you. But he also owns, in addition to TulsaJazz.com, Taylor Entertainment Group, TulsaJazz.com, J.T. Taylor and Associates, Tulsa Jazz Destinations. This one is kind of weird. Las Vegas Metal Scene. Okay, heavy metal. Taylor Entertainment Group Dallas, Sin Sings Jazz. If you've ever heard Cynthia Simmons, the jazz singer in town, right? John was her promoter. Then they were significant others, and they got married this summer. So that's really awesome. And then he also owns the River City Jazz Company in Richmond, Virginia. So he also volunteers on some nonprofits around town. If you've been to the Guthrie Green on one of those wonderful weekends when there's music, John sometimes is the person they contract with to get the music. He does the International Jazz Day. And so this last year, he worked with Tulsa Global Alliance on bringing some musicians from overseas. And now he's on their board. He works with the Spotlight Theater. And he's often does some work with James Mission, and I've heard him talk about that nonprofit. It's a really great group. So in addition to all of this, he and Cynthia are the proud parents of 5 children. And in his spare time, if you're out and about, you will probably find John listening to jazz music around town. So please help me welcome to our club, our newest Rotarian, as I present John the 4-way test. Thank you and welcome. Okay, and your pin, you pass your pin. Oh, okay.
Welcome, John.
Hey, thank you. See if you got to mention I sleep 2 hours a night, too.
Oh, yeah. John says he also sneaks in about 2 hours of sleep a night. So, John, great to have you on board. You're joining a great group. I encourage you to get involved, maybe on the IBA committee. I'm sure you've already recruited them, Trish, but yeah, get involved, and you've joined a great group of people here. So, and a shameless plug for IBA. I got my letter in the mail for the table. So Trish is selling tables to IBA for next year. So if I'm sure if you want to buy a table, see Trish, and she'd be more than happy to sell you one. Okay, some announcements. First of all, condolences to T.C. Blair. Hi, T.C. Condolences, buddy. T.C.'s mother passed away recently, so keep him and his family in your thoughts and prayers, and we have cards on the table if you'll write T.C. a little note there. I know he'd appreciate that. The John Hope Franklin Center is having their annual fundraiser tomorrow night, actually, and they could use some volunteers to kind of help set up. They're at the Greenwood Cultural Center. And so if you got some spare time tomorrow evening, you can show up between 5 and 5:30 and help them set up. And then if you want to hang around and buy a ticket and go to the event, the reception starts at 6:30 and dinner's at 7. That'd be a great event to go to if you have some free time tomorrow night. So David Peterson and Brendan Melancon are organizing the trip to Nicaragua for the water well expedition next February 14th through the 20th. February 14th through the 20th. This is a trip you want to make. This is, I went last year for the first time and wish I'd been going every year before that after I was there. I would really encourage you to put some thought to this and see if you can't fit February 14th through the 20th in your schedule. I promise you, you'll be moved, you'll be changed, and you'll really get a better sense for what this club is doing, outside of Tulsa. I mean, consider one person planted this seed to bring water to people in Nicaragua that do not have access to clean water. And as of today, we've drilled 498 wells. Yeah. And so this trip's a good chance to see what all we're doing down there. And there's more that the judge will expose you to down there on what we're doing to help the Nicaraguans out. So February 14th through 20th. If you're interested, there aren't a whole lot of spots available. See Brenda or Judge, and they'll get you signed up. Okay, Shop with a Cop, December 2nd. They need some volunteers to help out. Again, this is one of those, you can spend a couple hours on a Saturday morning helping out some great kids from Sealy Clinton, and you'll be more blessed than they are from this. So if you've got some time on December 2nd, sign up for that. And then Salvation Army bell ringing. Thursday, December 7th, and there are not a whole lot of slots left out on the board. So if you have not signed up, get signed up. That's always a fun time. Thursday, December 7th. Okay, so I wanted to update you on our search for an executive director. There's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and we are now at the point where we have a job description. For those of you that don't know, the Long Range Planning Committee is responsible for hiring our staff, our office staff, okay? And so they've been working on a job description for this executive director position, and they now have one that Long Range Planning has approved and your board of directors has approved at the last meeting we just had. And so it's ready to be published. But what we thought we would do is, before we put it out on the street, we thought we'd send it to the members of this club first. And so you will be receiving an email. I don't know if Rochelle knows this yet or not. I'll get you the information, Rochelle. You'll be getting an email from the office with this job description and how to apply for this position. So if you or someone you know would be interested in this is your chance to kind of send this out before it hits the street. And it'll be hitting the street here in the next week or two. And we're on plan. Things are moving forward real well. We'll have a new executive director before long. So, and I do want to say thanks at this point, particularly to past President John Raines, who's been working with Rochelle and Tommy Lynn kind of as a quasi-office manager almost, if you will, helping them out. And that's been a huge help, I know, to Rochelle and Tommy Lynn. Rochelle and Tommy Lynn have been pulling double duty these past few months. They've been doing a tremendous job. There's a ton of work that, until you're in the middle of it, you don't realize what goes on and how much work they do. So Rochelle and Tommy Lynn, thank you for everything that you're doing. And then the Long Range Planning Committee. I mean, again, there's been a lot of work that's been going on behind the scenes, so when you see someone from the Long Range Planning Committee, tell them thank you. Okay, now it's Sarge time. Where is Charles?
Well, I I heard it was No Shave November, Mike, and I went for it full-fledged. Did you actually? I really can't tell from here.
Yeah, you got to get up close.
Can you get a zoom in on that man? Yeah, let's just zoom in.
No, don't.
We're way on in. Okay, all right, that's there.
See it? It's there.
It's-
Wow. You're a little bit ahead of me there, Charles.
Well,
Did we start on the same date?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Literally, the same day. You called me, you said, let's do this.
Man,
I
I'm
did.
impressed. I am impressed.
Well, and I had to cover up the head just to balance it out.
That's
so you
true.
like it?
I love it.
Well, all right.
Yours isn't as white as mine, though.
Well, do you like the sideburns too? Do you like that?
It goes up around your ears, or how'd you do that?
It's really kind of an urban look.
That's nice. I like it.
Very urban. Okay,
I like it.
let's see here. So it is, what is it? Rotary Day, right?
It is Rotary Day, yes.
That's a good thing. Okay, I just got to make sure. It's hard to breathe through this thing. All right. Let's see here. First of all, before I go too far, we do not have a slide for it, but don't forget OU plays West Virginia. Last game of the season down in Norman. We have tickets available to bid on. We also have OSU playing Kansas. And there's a very good chance, because I heard TCU quarterback's hurt, strategically, Texas Tech could beat our friends at Texas Tech, or excuse me, at TCU, and we could have another bedlam. So the reason I preference all that, and the reason I'm really hiding behind this, is because it's Ed's birthday.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you, with Ed, you got to have a pretty good balance. But it is the 60th, so I feel like we have to honor the man. And he gave me some details of this, so I want to make sure that I read this off right. And I am without glasses, so bear with me. State of Oklahoma celebrating its semi-centennial, that's 50th anniversary for the SU fans. And again,
Ouch.
I know there's a balance out there. We got Ed going here, so he has no idea the Sarge, you really put yourself on the line when you take sides. So, note, Notre Dame defeats OU 7-0, and that was ending the 47-game winning streak for OU. So it adds up to be about 60 years. It was the greatest streak ever. So that gets to 60. But he said, I'll throw in an extra 40 if you put up the next slide. Now, with that said, it's all for the foundation, right? So here we go.
Oh! Ouch. Ouch.
So
It wouldn't hurt so much if it weren't true,
There's an additional reason it's No Shave November, so you can hide behind this.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, well, happy birthday, Ed, number 60.
Yes.
Thrilled for you. Thank you very much. All right, so we do have a Sarge of the Week photo. And this one says, this year, thousands of men will die from stubbornness. And somebody wrote underneath it, assumingly a man, no, we won't. I think some of the most truest statements are on the highway in small county. So
Nice.
we got that going. And one of the things about this, really is amazing, which, by the way, keep me in mind for some things. It makes me feel like country music star.
You look like a
Most
country
music
musician.
stars kind of look like this, don't
Yeah,
they?
they do.
And
I love that hat.
it makes me want to sing.
Oh, nice.
It makes me kind of want to sing.
Nice.
All right?
This is a special day.
But first of all, I got to get my country music on. I got to get deep. Thanks, Dave, for being in there for me. All right, ready?
We're ready. Anxiously awaiting.
I bet you are. Almost heaven, Rotary Club of Tulsa, beautiful people dining on Tiamos. President Mike had a birthday a week ago, aging quickly from his head down to his toes. President Mike, it was your birthday, but you went so far away, South Africa. What can I say? President Mike, happy birthday. Wait, I'm not done. We got to make him feel as uncomfortable as possible.
Yeah, you're.
So thus, I'm going on stage.
Yeah, you're.
Here I come. And I'm doing the bridge part too. I see your hair is matching the gray skies above. Might want to take a step back from that mirror that you love. Aging down that road, you see so many yesterdays. So many yesterdays. President Mike, it's your birthday.
That's a good place.
I'm not done.
Oh.
This is an emotional pause.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He ruined it. President Mike, it's your birthday. You went so far away. South Africa, what can I say? President Mike, happy belated birthday.
Never in my life did I realize what I was getting myself into. Charles, you're awesome. You are an amazing dude. Oh, nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. Wow, okay. Sorry, I got a little emotional there. Okay, now to Matt, you're next, so good luck. I'm going to introduce our Rotarian of the day, Matt Davis. Hopefully the non-singing Matt Davis. So Matt is president of Davis Group Limited. He is a Club Foundation Fellow, a Paul Harris Fellow, and amongst his many leadership roles within Rotary, he served as our club president from 2005 to 2006. This is obviously the very, very condensed version of Matt's bio, but he would have it no other way. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Matt Davis.
I couldn't help, when we were listening to that, reflecting on, I followed Ed Monette as Sergeant-at-Arms. And my own children, when I told them I was so excited I'm going to be Sergeant-at-Arms, they said, "Dad, don't try to be funny. You're not as funny as Mr. Monette." That kind of hurt. I thought it was kind of funny. I'm not going to read you the bio on our speaker today. You all have seen it and read it. But I want you to sit back and imagine Tulsa, particularly downtown Tulsa, or Oklahoma City, or Norman, without the entrepreneurial genius that we're going to hear today. The difference would be huge. They have 19 restaurants. Elliot is involved in a million other things besides the restaurant business. He has over 900 employees, and yet, when I was sitting here with him and I mentioned my favorite employee who is at the bar in their restaurant at 71st and Yale, he not only knew her, he knew her family, and she's one of 900. In the restaurant business, from my standpoint as a landlord for 35 years, the devil is in the details. And when you do the details right, you're very successful at it, as is our speaker today. The only thing I'm disappointed I don't see on his bio is that his uncle Bobby Nelson played Pee Wee baseball with my brother Fred Davis and was in my mother's Cub Scout den at our house. So I kind of hope to see that next time I look at their bio. Please help me in welcoming our speaker today, Elliot Nelson.
Thanks for having me. Apparently it was a huge oversight. I should have just brought song lyrics and kegs of Guinness. I didn't know singing was an option. Otherwise, I would have skipped all this. Normally I wing these speeches. I have this vision of grandeur of how I'm going to do this great PowerPoint, explain to you where everything is on a map, and then I sit down at my computer and remember I was an English major, and we just didn't learn how to do that stuff. So forgive me. I'm going to wing it, but I actually have notes this time, which is maybe the first time ever, because I was given a working title for my talk today about how we have revitalized at least part of a city. So just a little bit about my story. I was born and raised in Tulsa, and I go back 3 generations. And my grandparent or great grandparents all moved here. 3 of my grandparents were born in Tulsa. all four of my grandparents graduated from high school here, two from Rogers, one from Central, and one from Cashel Hall. And so my family's been here for a long time. And when I was growing up, I was fortunate enough that my dad, who is here today, maybe more my mother, would load us up in a car every summer and take us on road trips. And by the time I went to college, I'd been to 46 out of 50 states. And when I left here to go away to school, I said to myself, I'm never going back. I thought for sure that I was going to go to school, probably end up going to law school, and then live in New York City or Chicago. I mean, that was just kind of it for me. I didn't want to move home. It was never part of my plan. Fast forward, my senior year of college, the summer before that, I worked for a law firm. It was just a summer intern, one a small local firm and then a legal aid clinic. And I kind of got an idea of what a lawyer did every day. My apologies to any attorneys in the room, but I said, man, I don't think I can do that for the rest of my life. And so I signed up for an entrepreneurship class. And the first day of the class, the guy says, write down your favorite things in life. And so my favorite things were beer, food, travel, cars, whatever they were as a 21-year-old male. And he said, okay, you're going to take your list of 5 things, and you're going to write a business plan this semester figuring out how you make money doing what you say you love. And so for me, I'd spent one semester my junior year in Dublin, and I loved Irish pubs. And so I thought, I'll write a business plan for an Irish pub. And my fictional Irish pub, McNelly's, was set back home in Tulsa because that is the place I had the easiest access to information in terms of real estate and sales data and other things. And so, it was a class project. And I came home fall break that year, kept working on it. But by Christmas break of that year, after I'd finished the class project and the business plan itself, I thought, I think this is a pretty good idea. There's nothing here. There's nothing to do. If you work downtown at the time, there were 40,000 employees down there. And unless you were, George Shahadi, who had access to the Summit Club, you had to drive all the way to Brookside to a drink. So I said, that just doesn't make any sense. Sorry, George. So it's like, there seems like there should be services next to all these offices. Because in my mind, I'd always wanted to be in New York. And so when you're in New York, the best time at a pub in New York is at 5 o'clock when the workday's ended. Everybody's still in their suit, and they're there having drinks, kind of retelling the stories of the day. And so I had this kind of vision of I think I can provide that here in Tulsa. I think that place needs to exist for all these people who work downtown. And so I moved home and said, I'm going to open an Irish pub. My first setback, the day I went and formed my LLC or had the meeting with the attorneys for my LLC was September 11th, 2001. So I got out of that meeting forming my LLC, and Phil and Brent on KMOD radio. They were recounting this weird stuff happening in New York. I get home, start watching TV with my mom, and the Twin Towers had happened. And so it's like, well, okay, that's going to set things back a little bit. And so the world changed, and that kind of delayed things a bit. Then I kept kind of pursuing it. By that next summer of 2002, I'd signed a lease on a building. And when I signed that lease, I went to England to buy all the antique pub furniture. I had this vision of what it was going to look like, and I needed this kind of worn-in stuff. And so went to England, bought all this furniture, shipped it back. About a month after I shipped that furniture back, the guy I had signed the lease with called me and said, I need to meet with you. So I go meet with him. He said, bad news. My other partner embezzled all the construction money. This project's not happening anymore. I'm like, oh, okay. So at that point, I was like, well, worst case scenario, I'm in the antique business now. Maybe this is God telling me something. And that furniture actually sat in storage for 2 years at the U-Haul building downtown on Archer. And so when I finally got to open it 2 years later, it was like Christmas. I'd forgotten what it all looked like. So from there, I was like, okay, I got to find another building. Went through a couple other buildings. You finally end up at the one on First Street. And that was Glenn Strobel owns that building. Glenn's family had opened a machine shop downtown in 1903. They had moved to First Street in 1907. And over 100 years had bought all the buildings there along First Street except for one. And that building, the last time it had been occupied was 1962. And so this is December 2002. So it had been vacant for 40 years. Glenn it was just storing stuff in there. There's 3 feet of water in the basement. Everything was covered in mold. And so we walk into it, and I'm like, no, this is it. This is my pub. And he's like, you're crazy. I was 23 years old. I'm like, no, this is it. I can see it. So anyway, eventually I would say it probably bordered harassment. Just started showing up at Glenn's office all the time, like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And eventually he and his wife said, okay, we'll take a chance on you, we'll do it. That project took 15 months. We started in December of '02, finished up March of '04. But what happened in between there is kind of important in the story of downtown. So Vision 2025 got approved on September 9, 2003. This is why I actually have notes today. I don't have those dates committed to memory. So Vision 2025 happens. And so suddenly we open this pub, and there's this hope, this optimism of things that are going to start happening downtown. But for me, I sat there every day, and we're running this pub, and you realize, man, there's nobody down here. Next door was a welding shop. Next to that's a machine shop. Across the way is a bookbinder and a furniture maker. Everything's still very industrial. A lot of it's just storage. Now, 2 blocks away, I can see the BOK Tower, and I know that there are lots of people there, but there's no 7-day-a-week traffic. We would be really busy on Friday and Saturday nights and happy hour every day, but beyond that, it just wasn't happening. So I said to myself, okay, I think we just need more here. So I decided I was going to buy the 2 square blocks across the street from me and develop this massive development I was calling Frankfurt Square at the time. I called a friend of mine who was an architect. He was my best friend in grade school. We grew up together. We went to Notre Dame together. He was a valedictorian of architecture class, and he worked at the top classical design firm in the world in London. And I called John. I'm like, John, I got this. This is going to be it. Like, I built this pub, but that's just, we need to build this huge development. That's what's going to change things. We need all these people living here, and we need retail. And so John does all these drawings for me. And so I get the drawings. The drawings are actually dated August 2004. We opened in March before, so I'm like, yeah, this is it. So I spent the next couple of years trying to figure out how to build a massive mixed-use development. I was just, I decided I was going to open a pub, and I opened a pub. So I'm going to decide I'm going to build a $100 million development. I'm just going to get, turns out it's harder than opening a pub. Anyway, I spent a lot of time on this, but along the way I started learning a lot. And at some point, I just kind of sat and was like, man, this is really tough. And I was like, nothing else is happening still. Why is change not happening? Like, can't people see McNally's here and think, oh, this is going to go? And so I said, well, what do I know how to do? I know how to build restaurants. So I said, okay, I'm just going to start building more stuff myself. See if we can make an impact and make a change. So April of '06, we opened the Continental next door to McNally's, which is now McNally's Sidebar, because we thought, okay, there's a hole in the market for a nicer kind of bar. Then we opened the Tiny Lounge, and then we opened El Guapo's. El Guapo's was July of 2007. We just celebrated 10 years there, which is a miracle. And every time I give a talk and talk about El Guapo's, if you were there the first 6 months, I'm sorry. Please come back. That was a tough lesson in management. We thought we knew what we were doing and had the wrong people in place, and so it didn't go that well. But what happened after El Guapo's in '07 was that then the financial crisis hits. And so suddenly I've built this restaurant. We budgeted at $1.2 million. It came in at $2.1 million, so grossly over budget. Was doing everything we could to try to keep it afloat, including, McNally's was propping it up. And so it was a mess, and I needed to recapitalize the whole business. So I decided, okay, I'm going to sell part of McNally's stock, recapitalize El Guapo's, try to fix all this. In the meantime, we were building a project in Oklahoma City at McNally's down there, and a very similar neighborhood to the Blue Dome, what they call Midtown, which is at 10th and Walker is where our pub is there. So in February of '08, I sat down with my attorney, and I had him walk me through bankruptcy. I said, all right, just walk me through this. I got to get my head around it. So we talk about that. Then March hits. St. Patrick's Day is wildly busy. And then suddenly the weather changes, and El Guapo's went from being this huge albatross to now it supports itself because the rooftop patio opened. And even though we were still really bad at performing the day-to-day functions of that restaurant, the rooftop kind of superseded that. And people came anyway because they wanted to be there with a view and have a drink. And so we made it through the summer okay. We got our pub in Oklahoma City open, and that kind of buoyed the whole company. And that allowed me to breathe. Of course, then I had a bank call one of the notes because the financial crisis is happening. And so then I really need that recapitalization. And I found some local venture capital guys, Mimosa Tree Capital Partners, and I just happened to be on a committee with one of them at the city of Tulsa, and he was a Notre Dame grad like myself, and so I was friendly with him and said, look, here's where I am. I have this note that got called. I need to recapitalize some things. I actually have, 4 businesses that are making money now, just one that's in really bad shape. And they said, okay, what we'd like to do is not just help you fix that one. We'd like to be part of everything and then give you some money for growth. So we did that. The BOK Center opened in, I think it was September of 2008. You can check me on that, but I'm pretty sure. And then One Oak Field got announced summer of 2008. And so we're starting to fix our company. That investment from our new partners came in 2009, July of 2009. God, am I that bad? I've got people leaving already. Sorry, I'll speed it up. I knew I should have gone with the Guinness and pub songs. So we get this investment, and so then we rapidly start trying to change downtown. And so we built the Dilly Deli, which is now the Dilly Diner, Yokozuna. So the Dilly Deli is March of 2009, Yokozuna is October of 2009, Faster Hall's September 2010, the Tavern's December 2010, and Dust Bowl is May of 2011. So we had 5 things in very quick order in about 18 months. And so that to us was like, okay, this is going to be the momentum, right? This is what's going to do it. And then we're going to see all this ancillary activity and all these things are going to happen. Well, a few things happened. One is that we did see the ancillary activity. So from the time McNelly's opened till the time we opened Dust Bowl in May of 11, 20 new restaurants opened in downtown. We opened 6 of those. But from when the Dust Bowl opened until today, more than 60 more new restaurants, bars, coffee shops have opened downtown. So you look at from McNelly's in 2004 to now, today, which is a little over 13 and a half years, there have been over 80 new restaurants, bars, coffee shops, entertainment venues that have been built inside the interdispersal loop. And so there's been this... it's good and bad. Along the way, as I started trying to do other development work, I learned some things. And one is that restaurants and bars are always the leading edge. That's what happens first in all these urban revitalizations that have happened around the country. Restaurants and bars have gone in first and gotten people comfortable going to these neighborhoods. And the next thing that usually happens is residential. And from the residential then comes retail, and hopefully then from retail you start to get these 24/7 neighborhoods. Well, we had now the restaurant, bar, entertainment infrastructure, but we weren't getting the residential. So I went to one of my good friends who has a finance background. His name's Casey Stowe. I said, Casey, look, man, there's an opportunity. We have all these restaurants now. We need housing. And so we ended up with my dad and a couple other partners buying the Coliseum Apartments at 7th and Elgin, which admittedly we bought because it had a bit of an issue. It was the number 1 called 911 address in the city of Tulsa. But that's a different story. But so we bought that. And eventually, it took a long time because we had to clean it up. And when we bought it, it cost $5 to enter the building. Interesting business model, which we did not partake in. So it took us 5 years to get that turned around into 36 what we call workforce housing units. They're affordable. We opened that in 2000, I think it was August of 15. Casey and I got a contract on some land from Tulsa Development Authority at 2nd and Greenwood in 2011. Kept trying to redevelop that. And eventually, it became clear that it was still really difficult to raise capital for projects downtown, so we partnered with American Residential Group, Steve Gansko and Jay Helm. And so now that is the Edge Apartments, which we have there at 2nd Greenwood. That's 160 new apartment units. And then we also said, there's still a void in this retail. So we're getting the housing built now, and where's the retail going to come from? So we built a project at 3rd and Frankfurt called the Box Yard. And that was another TDA property that came up for RFP. And luckily, from what I've told, it was back and forth in the room as to who to give it to. It was either us or as a suburban-looking chiropractor's office. Luckily, they gave it to us. But so that was really the first foray into a retail development in downtown Tulsa in a very long time, at least one done by someone who didn't have a $1 billion foundation behind them. So, sorry. So that, to me, is the effort to try to round all this out. And in that, kind of full circle, we came back, the 2 blocks right across from McNelly's, which I'd worked on for a very long time. I worked on it for 4 years before I said, this is just too much work. I can't make it happen. I was told by some people that, hey, somebody's trying to buy that again, and I think it's going to happen. So I did kind of a lot of soul searching. I said, I just don't think I can sit here and watch somebody from out of town come in and develop that property that I've been staring at for all these years. And so I was able to, with some partners, put together the capital to buy those 2 blocks across from McNelly's, and now we're working on a development called Santa Fe Square. Santa Fe Square will be, clap when it's done. That's a long way out, but 100-room hotel, 1,000 parking spaces, 70,000 to 100,000 square feet of retail space, 100,000 square feet of office space, 200 more apartments, right there in the heart of everything. And what that will do will really create on-street activity like we haven't seen before. But I think that, as we look at it, as I look at kind of the work I've done and what's changed downtown and where we're going, all this work to me, a very long time ago, it became apparent to me that most of my friends from high school weren't moving back here. And I said, you know what, if I put in enough work and I make this cool enough, people will want to move back. And it's now becoming apparent that timeline might have been too short. Now I think if I put in enough work, my kids will want to move back. But what really, we're working towards is creating something that is a sales pitch for the city of Tulsa so that we can at some point start to attract back our young college graduates, start to attract people who make a decision just to move to Tulsa, not because they got hired by someone and they have a job here, but because they get here and they say, you know what, this is cool, I just want to live here. And until we have a downtown urban core that is capable of that impact, we're going to continue to teeter on the edge of being a viable city for the next century. And that that has to do with our big corporations, retaining them, helping them attract talent, but also attracting new companies that will build and grow here and be the next generation that kind of sustains our city. And so for me, we have one very small corner of downtown. Now we've built a couple of restaurants in the Brady District, one by the ballpark, trying to tie it all together. But our goal is not just to get that portion of the city revitalized. It is a goal, but it's to play a part in that bigger conversation of how does Tulsa remain relevant for the next century? Because right now our population growth is flat, and that's really dangerous. Our city population keeps getting older and older and older, and until we have an urban environment that is attractive to young people that 22-year-olds want to live in, we're in trouble. And so for me, I've been doing this long enough and sat in enough meetings and worked on it that I know that. And so the effort now is not just, hey, we need housing or we need apartments or retail or restaurants. It's, hey, we need Tulsa to be a place that people want to move. And so that's what I spend every day trying to do. And with that, I'll open up for questions. Yeah, sure. So very early on, a few months in, Wednesday night was easily our worst night of the week. And so I went to our chef and said, how much are we having a hamburger? It was $2.84, I think. And so he said, $2.84. All right, I'm going to start selling for $3 and see if we can get people at least to come in and eat a hamburger, and then hopefully they have a couple of beers and we'll make our money on the beer. So that was, I want to say it was August of 2004, so maybe we'd be open for 5 months. And so we did that. Back then, the advertising source was Urban Tulsa. I mean, it's we were talking about this the other day. Obviously, it's crazy to think how we're trying to market stuff now from where we started to where it is. But so we started running ads in Urban Tulsa. And that first week, I think we had like 100 people show up and eat a $3 hamburger. Maybe it was like 75 or 80, something like that. And we thought it was the greatest thing that ever happened. I mean, we were all like high-fiving, going crazy. A few weeks after that, we were up to like 180, and we were just exhausted. We're like, I can't believe this is happening. And then eventually, that got up to, we were serving about, I think our record was like 1,300 hamburgers on a Wednesday night at the pub downtown. And, unfortunately, it's one of those things that became so successful, all the other restaurant people in town kind of like, so now everybody's got a night of, burger night or pizza night or whatever it is. You can kind of go down the list. Any place you go in has a night like that. So it's regressed a little bit. But still, generally speaking, our third best night of the week after Friday and Saturday. And if we hadn't done that, it hadn't worked, I don't know that we would have made it. I mean, that revenue might have been the thing that saved us. Because it took about 20 months before we finally said, okay, I think this is going to make it.
Elliot,
Yep.
what's the timeline on Santa Fe Square?
So the timeline on Santa Fe Square is an interesting one. The hotel's getting built right now. The existing historic structure has been redone and is occupied now as office. And we were approached last November by a big publicly traded company to build a headquarters building. So we spent 6 months working on that, and then just were informed, you know what, this just isn't going to happen, thanks to George again. God, you keep coming up, Shadi. Not George's fault. So that really sent us back on the timeline. And now I think we're back actually. I'm hoping we'll break ground, May-ish maybe, something like that. So that's kind of the goal right now. And it's depends on how much time we lose over the holidays. But we're optimistic. Our multifamily developer, our partner is ready to go. We're really optimistic about the office right now. And then we have one big entertainment user that we've been negotiating with for a few months now that we think we're really close on. As soon as those guys sign up, then we're off to the races. Yeah. Karen. Yeah, so the hotel's it's a Hotel Indigo. It's part of Intercontinental Group's family of hotels, which is IHG. But it'll be a boutique property, but more importantly, it's full service, rooftop bar. I think it's a restaurant from 6 a.m. to 10 or 11, something like that. And I think for us, as we look at the hotel market downtown, there's been a lot of limited service hotels that have been built and not a lot of full service stuff. And so we're really excited about that full service hotel being there. It's going to be a good offering and hopefully live at kind of the top of the market, probably right under the Ambassador and Mayo, but right up there with them. Yeah.
Elliot, how big of a volume change is all the turmoil that's going on in the state legislature? What are your plans?
So I got an email about 2 weeks ago from the Rotary Club saying not to mention anything political when I was up here. So I don't know. It's a colossal problem. I mean, is there any media here? I got in trouble with this at the Tulsa World. I was going to talk to TU maybe 6 months ago and said we should secede from the state. But that when you have a legislator in Sallisaw give a questionnaire to high school Muslim students and that makes national news, I don't think the average citizen really thinks how hard that makes the job of people out trying to do economic development. And so, for example, GE was looking at the time and Fallon had all these quotes about how she thought we might have a chance because our tax rate's so low. And, a company like GE, when they see that your own state reps are giving questionnaires to high school Muslim students asking if they beat their wives, you're done. It's over. And every time we talk about a transgender bill or something that's anti-homosexual or something really crazy on the pro-life spectrum, and it kills us. It makes it impossible to recruit any kind of company from the coast to come here. And now I think, furthermore, when you look at a state that won't even raise taxes on oil and gas, or even, I was really against the income tax reduction because of where we were as a state at the time, but won't look at raising revenue to increase our education system and make it better and make it competitive. I mean, so long as we're at the very bottom of the list in health and education and all these other, we're at the bottom of everything. And we won't invest the money to at least get up to where we're competitive. We're in a really precarious spot. I will tell you, on my darkest days, I worry about Tulsa even. I've made the comment to people, Tulsa's Fort Smith in 50 years if we don't figure this stuff out. And it might sound extreme, but I kind of believe it sometimes. We really need, and the problem is our moderate citizens don't engage at the Capitol enough. If you talk to the guys at the Capitol, I have a couple of friends that are legislators, state senators, they only hear from crazy people. So, the crazy people are the only ones with the time to call me and tell me what they think. The people who want teachers to be paid more and their kids to have better education, I never hear from them. And so then you're left with this. So it's tough. It's really tough. And Oklahoma's reputation around the country right now is terrible. And if you think otherwise, I'd be happy to talk to you about it because we got a lot of work to do. And I think it should be scary to everyone in the room. Back to, I'm getting off. Back to our state's environment, and I think where a lot of people get their news. I'm not a good candidate in the state of Oklahoma. I believe in the right to bear guns, but I don't think people need automatic weapons and huge magazines. And I'm pro-life, but I believe in acceptance to rape and incest, and that makes me unelectable, and that's sad. That should make you sad. And not only that, I employ about 200 Mexican and Latin American immigrants, and I know if I ever ran for office that the people on the extremes would come after those guys, and that's just never going to happen. They mean too much. So, anyway.
Elliot, thank you for that great program today. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your fortitude and everything you're doing for the city and the state. And we encourage you, don't give up on us, okay? Don't give up on us.
Still working. I need some other help.
Yeah. And please tell me you did not start that beard 15 days ago. Okay, thank you. Okay, as I told you, in lieu of a coffee mug or something, we're going to be donating a book to our adopted school, Celia Clinton. And this week's book is Stick Cat, Cats in the City. So thank you for signing that. Okay, upcoming programs. We're continuing on with some great ones. Next week is Thanksgiving week, for those of you like me who it's like snuck up on. And the Reverend Jessica Moffett, the senior pastor at this church, will be providing a very special Thanksgiving message for us. So please be here for that. And then the week after that, on November 29th, our own honorary member, Dr. Jerry Clancy, will join us to share insights from his first year as president of the University of Tulsa. So that'll be special too. So again, thank you for joining us today. Now, I encourage you to go out, tell your Rotary story, and don't forget to bring a friend to Rotary next week. We are dismissed.